Welcome to Love It Daily, where we bring you stories that reveal the darkest corners of the human heart. I'm your host, and today we're diving into a tale of desire, betrayal, and regret that will leave you questioning just how easily a seemingly perfect life can shatter. Before we begin, if this is your first time with us, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss our real-life stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Now let's begin a journey that crosses boundaries no one should ever cross. Evelyn Hartwell had everything society told her she should want. A sprawling Victorian home in upstate New York with manicured gardens, a respected cardiologist husband, and a social circle that sparkled with privilege. From the outside, her life gleamed with perfection. But beneath that polished veneer, a different reality festered. Her marriage to Daniel had grown cold. Their bedroom, a place of dutiful mechanical encounters that left her staring at the ceiling afterward, hollow and untouched. At 42, Evelyn felt invisible, a beautiful museum piece admired from a distance but never truly desired. "I can't remember the last time he really looked at me," Evelyn whispered to her reflection one evening, studying the elegant lines of her face, the curves that her husband's hands no longer sought. Not really looked. Then there was Jason. Not their son by blood, but taken in at 16 after his parents. Daniel's college friends died in a horrific accident. Now 22. He'd grown from a brooding teenager into a young man with dark, intense eyes and a quiet confidence that drew people in. He lived with them while attending the local university, his presence a constant reminder of their good deed, their generosity. The first shift happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Evelyn was folding laundry in Jason's room, still mothering him despite his protests, when her fingers brushed against something hard beneath the fabric of his sweatpants. Something substantial. The realization of what she was touching froze her in place, a hot flush creeping up her neck. This is wrong, she thought, dropping the pants like they'd burned her. But the image stayed, along with a shameful pulse between her thighs that made her breath catch. She should have walked away then. Should have forgotten. But 3 nights later, passing the bathroom, she heard the shower running, steam curling under the door. And something else. A low groan of frustration. Telling herself she was just checking on him. Wasn't that what mothers did? She found the door slightly ajar. Jason stood under the spray, one broad palm braced against the tile, the other wrapped around himself. Water cascaded down the hard planes of his back, and what she saw in his grip was impressive. More than that, it was the kind of size that made her mouth go dry. Made her remember how long it had been since she'd felt truly wanted. Their eyes met in the fogged mirror. Neither moved. His voice came out rough, confused. "Mom?" The title landed like a slap, reminding her of boundaries that should never be crossed. She fled to her bedroom, heart hammering against her ribs. For days, awkwardness hung between them. Evelyn avoided his gaze at breakfast. Jason stayed out late, coming home only when Daniel was already snoring behind their bedroom door. But one Thursday night, when Daniel was away on yet another business trip, trips that had grown suspiciously frequent, something shifted. Jason appeared in the kitchen doorway while Evelyn sipped wine alone, his body tense with some unspoken question. "Can I ask you something weird?" he finally muttered, eyes fixed on the floor. Evelyn forced a light tone. "Weirder than the time you tried to convince me cereal with orange juice was normal?" He didn't laugh. Instead, his fingers tapped restlessly against his thigh. "It's about girls. That kind of talk." Evelyn took another sip of wine to steady herself. "Sure, what's up?" He exhaled sharply, like forcing the words out physically hurt. "I think I'm too big. Downstairs. It hurts stirring stuff." The air in the kitchen thickened. This wasn't normal stepson and stepmother conversation. This wasn't normal at all. But something in Evelyn responded to his vulnerability, to being needed, to being trusted with this intimate confession. "Jason, that's not usually something guys complain about," she said, aiming for lightness and missing by miles, his face flushed with misery. "It's not a joke. I don't know what to do." She should have directed him to a doctor, a therapist, literally anyone else. Instead, she asked the question that would unravel everything. "Have you tried anything to make it easier?" His eyes met hers, then darted away. I don't know what to do. The loneliness of years rose up in her like a starving animal. Daniel hadn't really touched her in months, and here was this young man looking at her like she held answers he desperately needed. Wait here, she heard herself say. Evelyn returned with a small bottle she kept hidden behind spare towels in the hall closet. A bottle Daniel hadn't touched in years. Here, she said, holding it out. This might help. Jason took it gingerly, his fingers brushing hers. The contact sent electricity racing up her arm. Thanks, he muttered, looking at the bottle with uncertainty. She should have left it there. Should have said goodnight and gone upstairs to her empty bed. But the words slipped out. Do you know how to use it? His head snapped up, eyes wide. I mean, she fumbled, face burning. If it's still not enough, you might need more. Silence fell between them, heavy and charged. Then quietly, almost inaudibly. Show me. Her breath caught. Jason, we can't. Please. His voice was rough, barely a whisper. I don't know what to do. And that was it. The final crack in her resolve. She stepped closer, then closer still. His breath caught as she reached out, fingers trembling as they grazed his wrist. Like this, she murmured, guiding his hand. Neither could say who moved first, but suddenly there was no space between them. His mouth crashed against hers, desperate and hungry, and she kissed him back with equal fervor. It was wrong, filthy, forbidden, and the most alive she had felt in years. His hands were everywhere, pulling her against him with a strength that made her knees weak. Evelyn, he gasped against her lips. Hearing her name, not Mom, sent a shock through her. This wasn't some confused boy. He wanted her, specifically her. Are you sure? She whispered, giving him one last chance to walk away. His answer was to lift her onto the counter, knocking her wine glass to the floor where it shattered, unnoticed by either of them. What followed was a blur of hands, lips, and whispered curses. His touch was clumsy at first, eager but unsure, until she guided him, showing him exactly how to make her moan. And when he finally slid inside her, slowly, carefully, because even with preparation, his size was not an exaggeration, she saw stars. It was wrong. It was perfect. It was the beginning of the end. The morning after brought stark reality. Evelyn woke before dawn, her body aching pleasantly in ways she'd forgotten were possible. The space beside her was cold. Jason was gone. If not for the soreness between her thighs, she might have convinced herself it was all a dream. God, what have I done? She whispered, stumbling into the shower and scrubbing her skin raw, as if soap and water could erase the memory of Jason's hands on her body. Breakfast was excruciating. Jason sat hunched over his cereal, refusing to look at her. She cleared her throat. Morning? His grip tightened on his spoon. Yeah, about last night. Don't, he cut her off, voice raw. Just don't, okay? Before she could respond, the front door slammed. Daniel was home, a day early from his trip. Jason's head snapped up, panic flashing across his face. But then Daniel walked in, all smiles and airport stubble, and Jason's mask slid back into place. Hey, Dad. The word twisted in Evelyn's gut like a knife. Daniel ruffled Jason's hair like he was still a kid. Missed you, sport. How's college? Fine. Gotta go, late for practice. He was out the door before Daniel could question why the swim team would practice at 7 a.m. Daniel turned to Evelyn, grinning. What's his deal? She forced a laugh. Teenagers. He kissed her cheek, his lips dry and familiar. You okay? You look tired. For a split second, she considered confessing everything. Instead, just didn't sleep well. The next week was torture. Jason avoided her completely, skipping dinners, staying late at study groups. When they were forced to share space, he tensed like a cornered animal, jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. She told herself it was for the best, that whatever madness had possessed them needed to stay buried. But then Daniel left for another business trip, and Jason came home drunk, a half-empty bottle of vodka dangling from his fingers as he sat on the back porch. What the hell? She snatched the bottle away. You're 22. He laughed, sharp and bitter. Yeah, and you're my mom. Guess we're both wrong. The word mom hung between them, ugly and incorrect. She sat beside him on the cold wood of the porch. We need to talk about this. Why? He turned to her, alcohol making his movements loose. You regret it? It wasn't a question. She should have said yes, should have lied. Instead, I don't know what I regret. His gaze dropped to her mouth. Liar! Then his hands were in her hair, his lips on hers, and God help her, she let him. This time was different. No hesitation, no guilt, just heat and hunger and the slick, filthy sound of their bodies moving together on the porch swing. Afterward, as they lay tangled in the dark, he whispered the words that sealed their fate. I can't stop. Neither can I, she admitted. The lies multiplied rapidly after that. Jason created fake girls' names in his phone for when Daniel grew suspicious about his late nights. Evelyn installed a new lock on her bedroom door for the times Daniel was home. But cracks started showing. Jason's coach called about missed practices. Daniel frowned at credit card bills for hotel rooms neither of them had mentioned. And once, Evelyn almost moaned Jason's name while in bed with her husband. They were playing with fire, and fire always burns. The first near miss came during a thunderstorm. Jason had Evelyn pressed against the pantry door, his mouth hot on her neck, hands sliding under her sweater. They'd grown reckless, the thrill of almost getting caught becoming part of the addiction. Evelyn, you home? Daniel's voice came from much closer than expected. Jason froze, their ragged breaths filling the silence as a floorboard creaked in the hallway. 1 second passed. Then, miraculously, Daniel's footsteps retreated upstairs. Jason exhaled shakily, his forehead dropping to her shoulder. That was close. It should have been a warning. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, Evelyn's phone lit up at 3:17 a.m. Can't sleep. Come over. Jason's dorm was a 30-minute drive from the house. A stupid risk, but she went anyway. He was different that night. Rougher, almost angry as he gripped her wrists tightly. You were with him tonight, he muttered. Daniel had taken her to lunch, a rare date. She didn't answer, just arched against him, letting the guilt fuel her hunger. Afterward, as she dressed in the blue glow of his laptop screen, Jason said the words that would haunt her. I love you. Not I love this. Not I want you, but I love you. She kissed him to avoid answering. The beginning of the end came with a receipt. Daniel found it first, a hotel charge that Evelyn hadn't made. Who the hell is Jason taking to the Marriott? He asked at dinner, sliding the paper across the table. Jason's fork clattered against his plate. Evelyn forced a laugh. Probably some girl he's too embarrassed to bring home. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Jason? One look at Jason's sheet-white face told Daniel everything he needed to know. Show me your phone, he demanded. Jason bolted. The front door slammed, tires screeched, and just like that, he was gone. Daniel turned to Evelyn, his voice eerily calm. You know something. She should have denied it. Could have. But her mouth betrayed her. It's not what you think. His fist hit the table. What is it then? It came out in pieces. A shower, a kitchen, a porch. Daniel didn't yell, didn't cry, just sat there, his breathing ragged like she'd gutted him. When she finished, he said only 2 words. Get out. Jason's dorm was empty when she went looking for him. His phone went straight to voicemail. Meanwhile, Daniel changed the locks on their home, and Evelyn checked into the same motel from the receipt, alone. The bed smelled like bleach, the sheets scratchy against her skin as she curled into herself and finally let the sobs come. This is how it ends, she thought. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. A manila envelope slid under her motel room door with a note clipped to the front. Sign them. Never contact me again. She traced the familiar slant of Daniel's handwriting, the way the N in never dug into the paper like a knife. 15 years of marriage reduced to a signature on a dotted line. She signed. What else was there to do? The search for Jason consumed her next weeks. His dorm room had been cleared out, social media deleted. The university said only that he'd withdrawn due to, quote, personal reasons. Evelyn drove to every place she thought he might be. The record store where he bought vinyl, the diner where they'd shared milkshakes, the park where, at 17, he'd confided that he sometimes felt like a ghost in his own life. Nothing. The last trace of him was a single missed call at a time when she'd been too numb to answer. Now the voicemail was all she had left. I hate you, his voice shaky, breathing uneven. I hate that I still. A muffled sound, perhaps a sob. Then the line went dead. She played it on loop until the words lost meaning. The gossip spread quickly through their once admiring social circle, first as whispers, then as headlines. Adopted son flees after affair with mother. Their story became cocktail party fodder for people who never knew the weight of Jason's laugh or how Daniel used to hum in the shower. Evelyn's sister was the only one who called. Jesus, Evelyn, she hissed through the phone. A stepson? Evelyn hung up and changed her number. Months passed. The motel bathtub became her refuge, though too small for true dramatic gestures. One night, with a bottle of wine almost empty beside her, she watched pink-tinged water swirl around her body and thought, "This is what I deserve. Acts like mine deserve a life like this." Then her phone buzzed. A Google alert she'd set up with Jason's name. J. Hartwell, 23, arrested in Nevada for DUI. The wine bottle fell to the floor. She bailed him out the next day. He looked like hell. Unshaven, unwashed, a fresh tattoo snaking up his arm. "Burn it down," in jagged letters. When he saw her, his face twisted with loathing. "Why are you here?" he demanded. "Because no one else is." He laughed, bitter and broken. "Wow, how noble." She reached for him. He flinched away. "Don't," he spat. "You don't get to play mom now." The truth hit her like a physical blow. She never was his mother. Just a woman who took something that wasn't hers. She gave him cash and a bus ticket to anywhere he wanted to go. As he boarded, he didn't look back, just raised a middle finger over his shoulder, the last hint that they were anything to each other at all. Now Evelyn works nights at a gas station off I-8. No makeup, no designer clothes, just a name tag that says Linda, because she couldn't bear to hear Evelyn anymore. Sometimes, when the road is quiet, she allows herself to remember the way Jason's breath hitched when she touched him, how Daniel proposed kneeling in the rain, grinning like an idiot. Then she pours coffee for truckers and pretends her hands don't shake. Was it worth it? But that's the thing about ruin. It doesn't care if you regret it. This concludes Evelyn's story, a tragedy of hunger, loneliness, and irreversible choices. If there's a moral here, it's this. Some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. What would you have done in Evelyn's place? Could you have walked away? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you know someone who might be standing at the edge of their own destructive choices, perhaps this story will give them pause. Don't forget to subscribe to Leave It Daily for more real-life stories of betrayal and its aftermath. We're all just one bad decision away from becoming someone we don't recognize. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next story.